back, everyone. Continuing our cutting compound contest, today we're going to take a closer look at Menzerna Super Heavy Cut Compound, the 300. We're going to see how that performs and see if it breaks onto the podium, our metals table. And taking a closer look at the metals table, we have Sonax holding the top spot, very close second, Angel Wax Resurrection. We have Griot's Garage from the Boss system, bronze, honorable mention, Jesscar and 3D HD Cut Plus. And a surprise to me, which I made a separate category for, the out of left field. We're going to put the Wizards in there, and if that stays there, that's going to go up against these three. And at the end of this series, I will put the top three head-to-head against each other on the same panel. I have a large panel set aside. It's fresh. It's ready to go. And for the fun of it, we will include Wizards if it stays there. So, without further ado, let's take a look at the Menzerna Super Heavy Cut Compound, the 300. Menzerna Super Heavy Cut Compound, the 300, is found in 8 ounce like I have here. Also a quart. You can get it in a gallon. You can get it in a starter kit if you want. The gallon you can get for $164. This here will run you around $20. The 300, boasting to be one of the more aggressive high gloss polishes on the market, removes sanding paper marks 1200 grit or higher. No fillers. Although the name, which may seem recognizable, has been around for a while, but the 300 here has only been around somewhere around 2 years, first being available January 2016. The formula includes Divisible polishing technology, ideal for removing heavy defects without damaging the surface. We're going to put the 300 through the same tests we have put probably around 20 compounds through by now. And I have a panel here. I have 5 sections. They are masked off to divide them. I'm starting with 2500 grit. I'm going to go all the way down to 800 grit. We'll remove the masking tape and we'll run the polisher with the Menzerna 300 on it all the way down through all those sections, and we'll see how good it cuts. The 1000 grit section is the most common area where most of these compounds will start to fade off a bit. The 800 grit section, there's not many compounds out there to take care of such damage, but it is fun to see most of these compounds make it a good attempt at it, really. There's 1 or 2 compounds out there that may be able to tackle 800 grit, but we're not going to include them in this bunch here. I pretty much grabbed or ordered all the compounds that had 1500 grit or 1000 grit on the label that were available here in the States anyway. Okay, good enough. I'm going to remove the residue from the wet sanding. I'm going to remove the masking tape and we'll get started. Before we do, I always put a little bit of the compound on the panel, spread it out with my fingers, get some between my fingers. I want to see and feel the grit of this compound, and it's real creamy. I'm having a hard time seeing or feeling it, so we'll see what happens with dusting. Okay, as usual, 3 pea-sized droplets on our 3-inch orange foam cutting pad. We're going to spread out the product evenly throughout all those sections. Then I'm going to start up the machine, take a run down through all the sections, and make a return trip. The Flex XFE 712 3-inch polisher is what we're using today, and we have it on mid-speed. We have exaggerated arm movements. Pressure is light. We're letting the compound do the work. One of the reasons I use this polisher, this pad, and this method. Another reason, I just don't have panels that are all large enough for, say, a rotary or a long throw polisher. Plus, I wanted all the work to go on to the compound from this testing. I didn't want anything else to be aggressive, like using a microfiber cutting pad or an aggressive polisher. Speaking of polishers anyways, if you're in the market for something like a 3-inch here, This Flex XFE80 is just remarkable. It's smooth, it's powerful, it will not stall like other, I'm not going to mention the name, 3-inch polishers out there. It is a little pricey, so there are some cheaper out there. You can start with the Griot's Garage 3-inch if you want. If it's time to move on, you want something more powerful, you have some cash flow coming in, you new guys, and you want something that's going to something you can rely on for bumpers, tight areas, pillars, door jams, and such. This is a great polisher. I'll put a link down below. Okay, that's going to do it. Let me set the polisher down. Give me a minute to come up and grab the camera. I want to bring you in close. And what we want to take a look at is what kind of residue we have left behind. We want to see how hard it is to remove that residue. I already take notice of just a little bit of dusting, but we will look at that closer in the second part of the testing. There's plenty of product left there. We could have made a few more passes, and it is rather easy to remove. Okay, the moment of truth. Let's see what the 300 has been able to do through all these sections. Blazed through the 2500 grit, the 2000 grit sections as I would have imagined. The 1500 grit section here. Not too shabby, although left behind some of the deeper scratches from my uneven sanding. The 1000 grit section you could see here, it didn't completely get rid of that, where some of the top-notch compounds that we've tested blazed through. And then, of course, here, the 800 grit section. We are going to, we're going to test these last two sections again, give it a second chance. And again, I do want to remind some of the new subscribers just joining in on this series, I do take this compound out into the field, to do some real work, some corrections on GM harder, some softer Asian clear coats. That's why there's so much time in between setting out and publishing these videos. I want to take my time with them, get to know them, so I know what I'm talking about. So this is the second part of the test that I was talking about. We're going to work those last two sections, the 800 and the 1000 grit. We'll work them for a more extended period of time, see what their open time or their cycle time is, see what kind of residue we have left over. Most of the compounds, when we work them for a long time, what's left behind is an oily residue, and the grit's gone, the working time is done. And we'll see then just how much dusting there is with this product. We can also then see how much work it's done removing some of the damage and marks from the 800 grit and the 1000 grit sanding paper. Okay, that's going to do it. Let me find a place to set down the polisher. Give me a minute to grab the camera. I want to bring you in close again, and we'll take a look at what type of residue the Menzerna 300 has left behind. And actually, there's a little bit of product left in here. We could have kept going and gotten some progress done. You can see here there is quite a bit of dusting from this product. A little bit surprising, where we didn't see or feel the grit when I spread some of this out over the panel, but that's the way it works out sometimes. That's why we do this testing. Removal of the residue is rather easy. It's an easy product to work with. So I've used the Menzerna 400 for quite some time, and I could say the 300 here doesn't have that much more bite than that one does. And the 400 does finish a little bit further. But this 300 has a little bit more dusting. And as you can see here, it just doesn't have quite the aggression that some of our top compounds have. Okay guys, again, that was the Menzerna Super Heavy Cut compound, the 300. I'll put a link down below if you want to look into it a little bit more. This compared to the 400, this cuts a little bit better than the 400, but the 400 will dust less, and it will also finish further than this. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate on the Menzerna. So let's take a look. Does it change our podium? Does it change the metal table? And it's not going to change it whatsoever. It's going to be exactly the same, with Sonax holding the top spot, Angel Wax Resurrection, Griot's Garage from the Boss System, Jescar 3D HD Cut Plus, and Wizards. All of these are excellent, guys. You can buy one, all, any, and they will satisfy you. They're all great compounds. We still have a lot more to go. So stay tuned. This is Brian from Apex Detail. Catch you in the next video.